Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Fired up, you're with us. One more hour for us working this week. We're off tomorrow for Turkey Day and going to step aside on Friday as well. Live at lunch, we'll broadcast from Rufino's for a football Friday. Jimmy and Charlie will be there on Friday. But the rest of us going to take some time off. You can find me on the golf course on Friday, which I'm very, very excited about. But hope everybody's traveling safely. Hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Just got a little tweet come across the old timeline. Not going to rant and rave. Just going to give you the info. LSU will wear white helmets, purple jerseys, and white pants on Saturday night in Death Valley. That means half of the games this year, LSU has worn a uniform other than gold helmets, white jerseys, gold pants.
Yeah. No comment?
I don't have a comment. I'm out of comments. There are no more comments to have. Okay. All the comments have been commented and then commented on further. And you understand where I stand on this. It just makes me really sad. And that's all we'll do on the comments. We got a lot to get to in hour number 2 here. Matthew Brune is going to be with us when the women go final from the Bahamas. They are rolling right now over NC State, 74-57, a 17-point lead over the number 20 team in the country. LSU leads it with 3.5 minutes to go. So we'll get to Brune here coming up probably in 30 minutes from right now, but we'll kind of play it by ear a little bit. All right, Beck, let's have a conversation here.
Okay.
We have been picking games against the spread all year.
Yep.
And it comes down to one more week. I'm not going to do the SC. Well, I will do the SC championship game if it matters. If I have a chance to break some sort of, if I'm 4 games under or 4 games over 500, I'm not going to do the SC championship game. But if we're right there on the precipice, then we'll do it. But right now, through 13 weeks, we have picked 103 games. And we are 50-53 to this point. 3 games under 500. So there's 9 games this week that I pick. That means I've got to go 6-3 to get to 500.
Yep.
Do we think? What's your confidence level that I can have a 6-3 week?
Not great.
Not great. I mean, I had a 4-1 in week 11. I had a 5-1-1 in week 8. I had a 5-1 in week 6.
Stanza picks.
Stanza pick. I had a 9-6 in the opener. I had to pick 15 games that week. But we've got to get the hay in the barn. We've got to finish strong this weekend. So are we ready to get to it?
Yeah, we are.
All right, let's lock and load. We'll do chronologically. 2:30 Friday. Got to go 6-3. Got to go 6-3. It's the Egg Bowl. I can't believe this game is not Thursday night. That's a travesty. Ole Miss will host Mississippi State. They're a 26-point favorite in Oxford. Trey Harris is not going to play in this game, and Ole Miss's spirits are crushed. But the deal is, Mississippi State cannot stop anyone. Cannot play any defense. They can't stop the run. They can't stop the pass. I think Ole Miss is going to play hard for Jackson Dart. I think the home crowd's going to be good. And I cannot pick Mississippi State anymore. I continue to pick them. They're terrible. They can't cover. I can't pick them anymore. So, give me Mississippi State plus the 26 points.
Yes, Hunt.
6:30 Friday, Georgia Tech at Georgia. It's a 19.5-point number. Haynes King and Georgia Tech have been scrappy. They beat a good Miami team 2 weeks ago. In that game, Cam Ward 3 for 348 and 3 touchdowns, and Miami could not really run the ball. Georgia is cooking a little bit on offense. They scored 31 on the Vols, 59 on UMass. Carson Beck didn't turn the ball over in that game. I think Georgia is really good, and I think they're going to crush Georgia Tech. So give me Georgia Tech plus the 19.5. I will do the opposite. The Vols are at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's catching 10.5. Tennessee just needs to win one game, and they're in. One win, they're in the playoff. They're the number 6 run defense in the nation. They are the number 4 defense in the nation against the run in terms of yards per carry. Vanderbilt is not going to be able to run the ball on this Tennessee defense. They're not going to be able to score on this Tennessee defense, and Tennessee is going to cover that 10.5. So give me Vanderbilt plus the 10.5. South Carolina's at Clemson. This is ridiculous. South Carolina is way better than Clemson, and Clemson's favored by 2.5. I could not love South Carolina more in this spot. Clemson's best win is Pitt. South Carolina's going to crush this team in Clemson. Give me Clemson minus the 2.5. Louisville is at Kentucky. Kentucky's catching 4. They've lost 5 of the last 6 by an average of 15 points per game. Louisville beat Clemson and Pitt. They lost to Stanford, which is not all that great. I like Louisville in this spot. Kentucky fans are checked out. Their team's checked out. They changed quarterbacks. Give me Kentucky plus 4 because I'm an idiot. All right, 2:30 Iron Bowl Saturday. Bama minus 11.5 in Tuscaloosa. Like, Bama's got to be shell-shocked at this point. And Auburn's been a little bit better on offense lately. Peyton Thorne has only thrown 2 interceptions since October the 1st. Over that time, 10 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I think Auburn's going to be a motivated team. I think Auburn's going to go in there and play Alabama really tough. That program is just not in a great space right now. Give me Bama minus the 11.5 because, of course. Arkansas is at Missouri. Missouri's very good on offense the last 3 games. They scored 30 on a good Oklahoma defense, scored 30 on a good South Carolina defense, scored 39 on State. I can't really handicap Arkansas at this point. They're weird. They're up, they're down. It just kind of depends. Brady Cook's senior day. Luther Burden's going to be honored for senior day. I think Missouri's going to play motivated. I think they're playing well enough on offense to beat Arkansas by more than 3 points. Give me the Hogs. I will take the 3. Florida State from Tallahassee, 14.5-point number. Of course, Florida is favored. Florida State scored 41 points on Charleston Southern last week. That was enough to climb out of dead last in the FBS in scoring. They were dead last 5 days ago. Napier is the toast of North Florida. I don't know how anyone could bet Florida State in this game. It seems to be completely impossible. I will have to do that, plus 14.5. That really hurts my pride. And then the big one, Horns at Aggies, 5.5-point number. What is this line? What is this line? What's Texas's biggest win? It's Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt. Kyle Fields going to be on fire. That is going to be a buzzsaw. We saw that in person with LSU. The wrong team's favored. A&M should be favored by 4 points in this game. This is an easy bet. Easy bet. A&M money line is the bet. So give me Texas laying 5.5 in front of the 12th man.
Oh,
Beck,
my gosh.
I will do the opposite to try to save the season.
Hunt, you just don't know. I couldn't be more proud of you right now. I really couldn't. It's just incredible effort from you here. And I'm just going to be
Listen to these teams I have wagered on here. Mississippi State, Georgia Tech, Vanderbilt, Kentucky,
Florida State.
Arkansas, Florida State's
Florida
terrible.
State.
There's no way this works. These teams are atrocious.
They are.
This can't work. There's no. What's my record going to be? There's 9 games.
You're going to go 7-2, Hunt. I'm calling it right now. 7-2.
If that happens, and I do that do that 2 different weeks in a season and come up with some sort of 80% win percentage, that is a blow to my pride.
It is, but I think you're going to go 7-2. Obviously, the Florida State one, that one, I cannot believe. I just cannot believe it. But
these teams,
and then Kentucky and Louisville. Kentucky
quit a month ago.
They did.
Oh, Lord.
It's at the grocery store,
At the grocery store, the big Kroger. There'll be 8,000 people there, drunk off turkey. That's not going to work. There'll be more Louisville fans there than Kentucky fans. Those are my SEC picks. I feel terrible about them.
I feel great about them.
Give me your breakdown on South Carolina Clemson.
Yeah, that's
Clemson stinks.
They're not that good, but they. I don't know, man. I think South Carolina's going to win the game too, but at home, maybe it gets them over the hump.
All right, I gotta do this now. Hester's tweeting at me with these alternate uniforms that he loves. Hester, I'm put out with Hester. I can't deal with it. This man is essential to the fabric of LSU football. He's a legend. and he's pro garbage uniforms. That's just very sad to me. This man, a great friend, incredible football player, fantastic memories, uniform sensibility, F. And now he's taunting me over it.
Yeah, that's pretty shocking behavior from him.
I need somebody in the postgame. I got to do the postgame show during Brian Kelly's press conference. Somebody in the postgame needs to ask him about these uniforms. I need to know who's picking them, when the decision's being made. All these things need to be brought to my attention, because we've got to start at the foundation and pick away at that and get back to wearing LSU's football uniforms. But we'll see. All right. Matthew Brune is going to join us in 15 minutes. Still got some Saints-Rams to talk about, as well as LSU and Oklahoma. Don't go anywhere. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is the website. I was chatting with Jonathan Carbo earlier today. I know a lot of folks renew their insurance on January the 1st. If that's the case, now is the time to get a second look. Now is the time to start that. You can't do it with a week out and holidays. It's just bad timing at the end of the year. You need to give yourself a little bit of time. And if you'd like a second opinion on your insurance, or just would rather have a relationship with your broker that you trust, Highland Insurance Group is the place to go. If you're a business owner, not real sure what EPL insurance responds to, not real sure what triggers a cyber attack and how you're covered for that and what the finances involved are, well, you can learn all that and understand why your business is best protected if you deal with the folks at the Highland Insurance Group. You never know when that car accident's coming. That damage can be extensive, can be really expensive. If that happens to you and you don't have the proper coverages because you were just trying to cut corners to save premium at renewal, you could put yourself in a bind. Don't do that. Call the Highland Insurance Group. Jonathan Carver and his team are happy to help you anywhere in the state of Louisiana. They're online at HighlandIG.com. It's the Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com.
Hunt Palmer, lover of LSU, Shreveport, and mayonnaise on hot dogs. The Hunt Palmer Show.
Talk some hoops. Matthew Brune covers both basketball squads as well as football and baseball for the Bengal Tiger over there on 3. Joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline as the women just wrapped up a win down in the Bahamas over NC State. Matthew, how are you?
Hey, Hunt, doing well. Yeah, trying to get all the basketball stuff done before Thanksgiving tomorrow.
Absolutely. Let's briefly start with the ladies. They go down to the Bahamas, get a nice couple of wins. Started slow in both games, honestly, but what'd you like about the last 2 games for Kim Mulkey's team?
Yeah, the Washington game was really tough for them. Washington played a zone, and LSU was really uncomfortable, didn't shoot the ball well, and honestly had no business winning that game. They ended up winning it on a Kaylin Gilbert, broken play, finish at the rim with 1 second left, which was crazy. So you take that win, and then now you take up another level playing NC State, a team that made a Final Four last year and returned a lot of talent. And this was clearly their biggest test, and they passed it with flying colors. I mean, an 82-65 win, and really there was never a doubt after the first quarter. So I was really impressed offensively. They ended the game shooting over 50%, and it was by far the best game they've played this year.
Have they answered any questions that you had 2 weeks ago before the season, 3 weeks ago before the season started, or are we still in kind of wait-and-see mode as to what the ceiling of this team is?
No, I think this game was significant for answering a lot of those questions because, as we've talked about, everyone's talked about, they don't play anybody for the first few weeks of the year, so it's hard to get a gauge really on what their ceiling is. And I did have questions about whether it's a center position or just overall, shooting and scoring potential. But Michaela Williams bounced back. She had 0 on Monday. She had 24 today. Flau'jae is going to be consistent. Anise is going to be consistent. So I needed to see them do it against a talented team like NC State, and they completely did that today. So now I do feel better about them looking ahead to SEC play, where there is a lot of size and talent, as we know, in the conference.
All right, let's move over to Matt McMahon's men's basketball team. Let's start with the news of today. Damian Collins dislocated shoulder, 2nd year in a row that he's done that. If he misses significant time or the rest of the season, how big a loss is that for LSU?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be the full season. I'm hoping that maybe it's they get him back by January or so, some part in early conference play. But regardless, if he misses the next month or two, it is going to be significant. He is by far the best rim protector on the team. And with him, I really like their rotation in the front court. Without him, you're going to have to rely more on a Derek Fountain, more on a Robert Miller as a freshman. And so the lineups might not be as clean and the defense might not be as potent as it is with him on the court. But overall, I do think they still have some capable bodies. Jalen Reed and Corey Chess have stepped up. And I'm not super concerned in the front court about this team, but it is still something to watch.
Are you surprised that Corey Chest started the game? Not based on his play this season. Let's go back to November, early in the month, before the season started. Would it have surprised you then to learn that Corey Chest had cracked the starting lineup 3 weeks into the season?
No, not at all. I wrote a whole story saying he was my breakout pick and tweeted it, and he was I thought I was honestly more surprised that Robert Miller was starting, and I told you this last week. Him starting really surprised me. So they go to Corey Chest, and I just think he's the perfect complement to what they do in terms of rebounding and defense and doing the dirty work that maybe they don't have at the other positions right now. It's not fluid on offense with him on the court at the 4 because they don't have a ton of spacing. But regardless, I still think he's a very important player, even if he's not one of the 3 or 4 best players on the floor. He still does the dirty work, and I think it's really important for this team.
I saw you tweeted that you were a little bit surprised that Victorious Miller had kind of asserted himself scoring the way that he has early on in the year. What have you seen from his development?
Yeah, it's been really impressive. I thought it would take him a minute because he is so skinny and had to take. I remember watching him over the summer and in fall practices, and he would take some tough 2s, and the shot selection was a question mark, and the 3s aren't even falling for him right now. But he is just such a skilled player with a great feel for the game, and you really can't coach that. And so when LSU gets in trouble, they kind of just throw him in, and he's able to make things happen in transition in the half court. And so I've been really surprised and pleasantly surprised by his ability to score and fill it up. He also comes in when they go to those 4 guard lineups, and he's able to really, space the floor and make plays.
For every game before the show, I try to think of like something to watch, key matchup or whatever, and I look at opponent specific. But I always circle back to like, man, this team just needs Jordan Sears and Cam Carter to play really well, and if they do, they're going to be dangerous. And when they don't, it's going to be ugly. And that's kind of what I've kind of circled at this point in the season. Do you agree with that assertion?
100%. This is a team that as much as I love Jalen Reed and Corey Chest and the pieces and Victorious Miller, you need those 2 senior guards to compete. And I think in the Pitt game, it was a prime example of what it looks like when they are not on the level of their opponents. Neither one of them played well, and they were completely overwhelmed by Pitt's backcourt. They have to go toe-to-toe with every team that they play to have a chance. Sears has to shoot the heck out the ball from 3. Carter has to be really tough and get to the rim, get to the free throw line. Those 2 guys have to combine for, I'd say, probably at least 30 points every game.
How big a deal was getting that win on Sunday?
Oh, it was huge. It puts you at 2-0 against Big 12 teams. Moves you to 6-1 now, and I think with the rest of the non-conference schedule, the only tough games I would say that they have are SMU in Dallas and Florida State at home. So if you can win those 2, you're looking at a 1-loss non-conference, and that puts you in position to hopefully, even with how good the SEC is, get to 8, maybe 9 wins in conference play, and that is a lock for the tournament, in my opinion, if you can do that. Now, I do think the SEC is going to be very, very difficult, so I don't want to, be like, 9 wins is easy, but I definitely think they're in a good position if they can run the table for the rest of the non-conference.
Yeah, let's briefly talk about that because I covered LSU when the SEC was a joke nationally, and it was all about the Big East and the ACC and the Big 12, certainly. Now, I look up every single night, and the SEC is playing these super high-profile games and winning them. Just how tough is this league? Do you think it's the toughest league in America?
I do. I think KenPom also has it rated as the most challenging one. The Big 12 recently has added, with expansion and stuff, they've added some teams that have kind of brought them down a little bit, like a UCF or like a Colorado. But regardless, at the SEC, top to bottom, you mentioned the top tier games. I mean, Auburn is, in my opinion, the best team in the country. Tennessee just blew out Baylor. Alabama just beat Houston. I mean, you go down the list. Even the middle tier teams, Texas just beat Syracuse and St. Joe's. I mean, there's a lot of talent here, and that's why I think last year's LSU team to go 9-9 was so impressive. And now this year, I know people are going to be expecting 9-9 and 10-8 and so on. It's just going to be very, very difficult, I think, to get to 10 wins. So I would be very happy if they got to 8 or 9 once again.
Matthew, we appreciate a little bit of time. Enjoy the Thanksgiving holiday. We'll talk soon.
Yeah, thanks. You too, Hunt.
Matthew Brune, host of, he's over there with the Bengal Tiger, helps them out with their team coverage, basketball, baseball, and football as well. Good enough to join us to talk basketball each and every week. You're going to hear me say this a lot prior to the game against Florida State coming up on Tuesday. LSU needs to win that game. They need to go to SMU in Dallas and win that game. I'm going to try not to be hyperbolic, but this may be the best SEC ever. Like, it is the level of basketball this league is playing against Houston and Kansas and North Carolina. Like, they're playing the top of the sport and winning. And it's every night. And you know that Arkansas is going to be super talented. I think that Florida's got a pretty good team. Like, that's the middle to bottom of the league, not to mention talking about the Alabamas and the Auburns. Like, A&M's tough. It's going to be a bear every single night, and you're going to take some lumps in January and February in the Southeastern Conference. They're going to be LSU's probably going to lose 2 or 3 games in a row, a time or two. Like, it's just going to be really difficult. You have to create if you're LSU, because I think LSU is in the bottom half of the league in terms of talent, but they're old, and I do think Matt McMahon's a good coach, and I think he showed that last year in getting that team to 9-9. I give LSU a fighting chance in the SEC. I do. I give them a real chance to make the tournament, but you cannot slip up in November and December because you're not going to be able to make it up in the SEC. It's just too hard. Going on the road to some of these places that LSU is going to have to go is going to be almost impossible to win. Of course, anybody can get hot and hit 14 threes, but like, realistically speaking, there are some games on the road in this league that LSU is just not going to be good enough to win. So it was huge to get that win on Sunday, and they need to take care of business on Tuesday against Florida State.
Yeah, and just looking ahead at the conference schedule, your first 3, I think, are manageable. You've got Vanderbilt at home. You got to go to Missouri, and Missouri's not great, I don't think. They got a new coach again this year, so we'll see. But Ole Miss, and then you got to go to Oxford, and Ole Miss is who knows? They
got a good coach.
They have a good coach.
They're going to play defense and rebound.
Yeah, and then the 4th one is Arkansas at home. So at least you get Arkansas at home there.
I think without looking at the schedule in front of me, I got a reasonable view of what it is. But without looking at it in front of me, you've got 18 conference games. It means you got 9 at home. You need to go 6-3 on your floor.
Yeah,
and then if you can find a way to get 2 or 3 on the road, then you can probably make the tournament. Because I think LSU set themselves up. And that's assuming you take care of your business for the next 4 weeks. You've got to find a way to go 6-3 at home, and then scrap and claw to get a couple. And truth be told, like it is with a lot of conferences, like you're gonna go to the under 4 timeout at 3 minutes and 12 seconds to go in a bunch of these games in a 3 or 4 point game, and like the margins are so small in basketball, and it's not inconceivable for a lot of those games to go your way or a lot of them to not go your way, and it can skew your record based on the team you actually are, because there's so many games that come down to the last few possessions. It's going to be a bear, and I can just tell you, like I'm watching a lot of SEC basketball at nights now after the kid goes to sleep and Peppa Pig comes off my TV, and we're not talking about SEC teams that are doing a good job beating, Maryland or Washington. Like they're beating North Carolina and Kansas, and they're beating the top of the sport, Houston. So it's going to be a monster come January. LSU needs to keep socking away wins. They'll get their next opportunity to do that on Friday against Northwestern State. Thanks to Matthew for giving us a little bit of time. If you want LSU basketball talk, you can always find it on our podcast stream, Hoops with Hunt. Same podcast stream and logo that it ever was. We just started adding our basketball segments to it whenever we have those. So this one will go up there in due time. We'll come back. Still got to pick LSU and Oklahoma as well as Saints and Rams. We will do that. Still got some take it or leave it. So stick with us here on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. We live in South Louisiana. In South Louisiana, we got hurricanes. We got nasty summer storms. Last year, we had an ice storm. Power goes out. It's a nuisance. It can be a bad deal if you work from home and you can't be productive. Just get rid of that. Get rid of the risk. Protect yourself and give yourself the peace of mind to know that you can have a Generac home standby generator installed at your home from the folks at Boudreaux's Electrical, and you won't have to deal with power outages. I tell this story all the time. Paul Skeen's about to take the ball against Tennessee in the College World Series opener, and my power went out because they had a strong 2:30 storm. I had to go to my wife's friend's mother's house to watch the game. Don't be like me. Get the generator and make sure that your power is not going to go out. Boudreaux's Electrical is first class. Neil and Melissa have been running it for 40 years. They got the same number they've had for 40 years. 985-397-1562. In the 225, you can call them at 300-9389. I give you the easy way each and every day. It's Boudreaux'sElectrical.com. Boudreaux'sElectrical.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
All right, I said we were going to cool the uniform talk, but I think there's just an assertion that I've got to make here on Twitter. Like, most of the comments on the LSU football post about the uniforms are negative. I think most people are like, okay, that was cool for like one time, but why are we keeping doing this? And I'm a little surprised by that because I was very much in the minority like 2 months ago.
No, that's the thing. It's like people don't mind it and they like it a couple of times, but this many times in one season is
half
just
the games.
A lot.
Half the games.
Yeah.
They had 2 icy whites. That was Arkansas and A&M. They had was that Nichols where they went white, gold helmet?
Yeah.
Then you wore purple against UCLA.
Yep.
And that was UCLA thing. They wanted to wear white. So I'm not going to give LSU too much flack for that. But then you had the alternate, which is the gold last week, and then you got this one. That's the 6th game of 12. They will have done an alternate uniform, which I guess at a certain point isn't really an alternate.
No, it's not.
If it's just what you usually do. As Matt very tactfully put it last week, you're Missouri. Like Missouri wears alternate uniforms. It's kind of an evergreen topic because it keeps popping up, and like people kind of generally have dug their heels in. I've been kind of vocal since the beginning about what I would prefer LSU do, but that's not going to happen. And I think there's a contingent of. I mean, Brian Kelly said this last week. He was in a press conference, and they were talking about the Unity Council and like him meeting with the players and like how often that happens. I think it was a teleconference last week, and he said they meet on Mondays, and that's where we discuss such and such, and then what uniforms we'd like to wear. So it sounds like on Mondays the players come to him and say, "Hey, can we do this?" And he says yes, which that's their prerogative, I guess. But there's some sort of branding impact there that is being diminished. I'm quite confident, even though I'm not a marketing major. So, all right, let's talk some Saints. Saints yesterday did not have Lucas Patrick and Eric McCoy at practice. And this is kind of bringing back the thoughts of late September when the Saints started having cracks in that offensive line. And I think it's inarguable that Eric McCoy's loss for this team was just massive. And, you had your quarterback go out, and that certainly hurts you as well. And then your do-it-all gadget player in Taysom Hill goes out, and then you lose your top 2 receivers. And there have been injuries all over the offense, as y'all are well aware. But McCoy's is one that was just very difficult for them to overcome. You had to sign a center essentially off the street, went up to the Jets practice squad and plucked a center. And once McCoy came back, I think things went smoothly. He's the best offensive lineman that they have. He may not be the biggest talent. I would suggest that Trevor Penning and Taliesin Fuanga are more gifted players, but in terms of consistency, steady play in the middle of that offensive line, Eric McCoy has been phenomenal. And the thing is, like, with him in there, the Saints have run the ball well, and that's really the key to everything they do offensively. They were able to do a good job in games against Atlanta and Cleveland with minimal outside weapons, because they could run the ball, and you get MVS off the street and he's making big plays, and it all kind of feeds off of the run game. And I just have to worry without McCoy and Patrick, who were day one starters on the offensive line in the interior. Without them, got to go to Saldiveri and make some changes at center, and like you just kind of weaken yourself. And it's not as if Cesar Ruiz has been a dominant player, so kind of your entire interior is compromised. And if they can't get that going, like Derek Carr and these wide receivers, this group of guys, whoever's healthy on a given week, that's not enough to win. It's just not. Like, you can't rely on Derek Carr throwing the ball 37 times with no complemented run game behind that offensive line with no weapons. It just doesn't work. And so it's early. They've still got Thursday, Friday, and Saturday for Patrick and McCoy to heal up, and we haven't gotten the injury report yet, and unfortunately that happens like right when we go off the air. But without those two guys, I really don't like the Saints' chances on Sunday. With them, I think it's perfectly reasonable to expect the Saints to compete and potentially win that game. And we just certainly won't have that information until later on in the week. But I looked at this matchup a little bit earlier today, and as I kind of look at it, I think the Rams look better on paper than they really are offensively. I think that's when you look at Kupp and you look at Nakua, and you look at Stafford, and you think maybe they're a little bit beyond, well, not Nakua's case, but in Kupp and Stafford's case, maybe they're a little bit beyond their prime. And I'm ready to see if the New Orleans Saints defense can match up with those guys. And right now, I do think that the Saints should be able to hold up at the point of attack, and I do trust those two corners on the outside to play pretty good football against a talented wide receiver core. I think my snag comes when you flip the ball and you start talking about this Saints offense. You need to get Taysom going early and often. I'm way pro Taysom early and often, and you'll certainly get Kamara a lot of touches as well. And the effectiveness with which they can run will dictate what the Saints are able to do in the game on Sunday. I'll pick this one. Right now, I'm gonna go with a Saints running game that can't quite function. That I think disrupts the passing game, and that I think allows the door to open for the Rams to win this game. I will pick LA to win this game by a final score of 26-20. I think that it's competitive. I think the Saints will play really hard. I think the Dome will be a pretty reasonable environment, but I can't trust that Saints offensive line. Not with the injuries that I'm looking at right now. So I'll pick the Rams begrudgingly, but hopefully the Saints can get it done and win a third in a row and kind of keep things mildly interesting for the time being. We'll see coming up on Sunday at 3 o'clock. All right, let's talk some LSU and Oklahoma. We've broken this one down a number of different ways over the course of the week. This Oklahoma offense has just been atrocious from start to finish, and they found a bit of a spark in the game on Saturday against Alabama. Now, I would argue that more so than the 250 yards that they ran for, the spark was Jalen Milroe turning the ball over. Garrett Nussmeier's had problems with that. That's something that needs to change, as it did this past Saturday against Vanderbilt in this game against Oklahoma. If Garrett Nussmeier looks like he did against Arkansas, looks like he did against Vanderbilt, LSU's going to be fine, because they'll score some points. Oklahoma won't be able to mount as many drives as they'd like, and LSU will win the game. I just don't think that Oklahoma unlocked some new offensive identity against Alabama. I think the snowball got rolling downhill, and there was very little that Jalen Milroe could do to reverse it. But at the end of the day, you're still talking about an Oklahoma offense that is dead last or second to last in the SEC in scoring offense, total offense, yards per carry, passing offense, sacks allowed, tackles for loss allowed, third down conversions, and yards per play. It's just terrible. Last or second to last. LSU should be able to pose a threat against that. Here's where things could flip. If LSU can't run the ball, and Oklahoma's been great against the run, they are third in the SEC in yards per carry allowed. They are second in the SEC in tackles for loss. They do not allow explosive runs. They've given up the second fewest in the SEC of 10-plus yards. And they've bowed up in the red zone, second in red zone. That's a salty defense against the run. It has been vulnerable at times against the pass. Only 3 teams in the league give up more explosive passing plays than Oklahoma. But what do we know about LSU's offense? Sometimes when that running game goes away, the pressure gets turned up. And I have watched Brent Venables enough to know what he is. And I've talked about this a lot over the last couple of days. He will get very exotic on third downs and bring pressure and confuse the quarterback's eyes, confuse the offensive line's protections. And if that happens and they get home to Nussmeier, they can make things tough on LSU defensively. So that matchup concerns me kind of a lot. And so I think this game is going to be really close, and I think it's going to be fairly low scoring, which is not something that LSU has gotten into a lot. But I like Oklahoma's defense against LSU, and I still think Oklahoma's offense stinks against LSU's defense. So I think it comes down to late game situations, and I'm going to trust the better quarterback in late game situations as opposed to the better defense. I will take LSU to win the game on Saturday by a final of 20-17. I think it may come down to a field goal right there at the very end. LSU hadn't played a lot of tractor pulls, a lot of slugfests over the last 2 years. I think this one could be that inside Tiger Stadium. Now, keep in mind, I am well aware that I have been atrocious at picking LSU games this year. I was wrong for the USC game. I was wrong for the Ole Miss game. I was wrong for the A&M game, wrong for Alabama, wrong for Vanderbilt. That's 5 games I've missed. I missed this one. We're talking about half the season that I've missed, and that counts games against Nichols and South Alabama. So my picks stink. Hopefully this one's a little bit better, but I'll take LSU 20-17 to win this one on a Saturday night in Death Valley. We've got one more order of business to do. That's a little bit of take it or leave it before we get on down the road, and then quite literally get on down the road to Shreveport for a little Thanksgiving. Come back with us, The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com. Every single vehicle in the line of Genesis was given the IIHA top safety picks. Some of them were top safety picks plus. I can tell you to go by Genesis of Baton Rouge and you'll be able to get behind the wheel and you can tell how stylish these vehicles are, how sleek they are, how comfortable they are, how incredible the features in the drive. It's a luxury vehicle. You can tell that. Tougher to tell safety until you really need it. And these cars have stood up to that test. Every Genesis is backed by that guarantee of the IIHA top safety pick, and some of them top safety pick plus, as I mentioned. If safety is a priority to you, Genesis certainly needs to be an option for you. If you're on Airline Highway shopping for cars in Baton Rouge, make one more stop. Airline at Piku. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge. One of their brand ambassadors will help you out and walk you through that experience. It's first class, start to finish at Genesis of Baton Rouge. Every car on the lot is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. That's genesisofbatonrouge.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show. Hopefully Hunt remembered to bring his laptop charger. Nah, there's no chance.
All right, we're about done here on a Thanksgiving week for the Hunt Palmer Show. What time is kickoff on Saturday, Beck? 6 o'clock? Does that sound right to you?
Yeah, it sounds right. Sounds right, but it'll probably obviously be like 6:15.
Yeah, so 6 o'clock, that means 1 o'clock, Eagle on 8.1 game day from Rouse's Burbank and Lee, Charles Hanniger from Matt Musso. I'll come on at 4 o'clock on the LSU Sports Radio Network, get you ready for the call of the game 30 minutes after it goes final. You can catch myself, Marlon, and Brandon on Fighting Tiger post-game report for about an hour, 90 minutes after it goes final on Saturday night. It'll be Richard Dixon and Charles Hanniger from right here in the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio, Eagle on 8.1 game day's post-game show, getting you all caught up on scores from around the country in reaction to LSU and Oklahoma. So 1 o'clock, we go on the air over on Eagle, going probably past 1 o'clock in the morning, coming up on Saturday night in Death Valley. Very much looking forward to that. Very much looking forward to a little bit of Thanksgiving. So we got one thing left to do. Let's play some Take It or Leave It, Beck.
Alrighty, first one here. Turkey over ham. Take it or leave it.
Got to take it. I mean, the key here is the fried turkey. We do the fried turkey at the Palmer house. It's the men go out in the yard and dunk that turkey in grease. The smell is incredible.
Oh, so you mean you don't do it in the garage where everything catches on fire?
No, we're out in the driveway. We got the cardboard spread out. What you got to watch is the 3-year-olds and the dogs.
Yes,
the 3-year-olds and the dogs are
a
the
problem.
issue. So got to make sure that everybody's got the area cleared. But it's delicious smelling, delicious tasting. I'll probably have a piece of ham on my plate come Thursday,
maybe.
but I'd rather turkey.
Yeah, it's weird. Like I always end up getting a piece of ham, and then I eat everything else, and then I eat like half of it. And I'm just like, I don't want the rest of it. Like I don't care
What's
that much.
really key on Thanksgiving for this meal is you got to allocate your real estate properly on the plate. You can't be, putting something where it doesn't need to be and cutting your ability to get what you really need. So it's all a real estate game.
There's a real strategy involved.
There is.
It really is.
Not my first time. I'll do a great job on Thursday, no question.
I'm sure you will. Next one here, dressing. Take it or leave it.
I probably won't even get it. The dressing is fine. Like, it's good. My mom and my aunts make it, and it's okay. It's not worthy of the real estate.
Okay.
I don't need it.
It's interesting. That's a different perspective from not only my family, but also my wife's family. In both sectors, the dressing is revered. It is a very important part of the meal.
Is there oyster involved here? Or are we just talking traditional?
So my grandmother on my mom's side will usually make a regular cornbread dressing, and then she'll also make an oyster as well.
Okay.
The cornbread is more highly touted.
Okay.
But of course, you also got to have the gravy on the dressing as well.
Look, I'm not anti. If you gave it to me, but there are like 5 different things that I want more, and I'm just going to go with that.
Yeah. Next one here, cranberry sauce. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I might put a little on the turkey.
I'm good without it.
It'll be there. But it is by far and away the smallest size in the buffet line.
Oh yeah.
Like there's these huge casserole style things that are gonna be out, and the cranberry is like this little bowl, and I don't think it's gonna be. It won't even get eaten.
The most disgusting thing to me though is the people that eat the cranberry out of the can, where you have to slosh it out of there, and it comes out and it's got all the lines
just
on it.
Winced at the thought of that.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Okay, so my family will make a homemade cranberry, and that's good.
Okay.
But there's some people that prefer the canned kind.
No.
That literally, it's just, I can't do it. All right, next one here, sweet potato casserole. Take it or leave it.
See, this may be 1-1 for me. I might get a second dollop on the plate.
Interesting.
The sweet potato, it's got the brown sugar crust on the top.
Yeah.
No marshmallows in ours, even though I'll take the marshmallows, but we will not have those there this way. I love sweet potato casserole. If I go back for seconds, which is doubtful, I will definitely get that.
I'm kind of the dressing mindset where you are. I can take it or leave it. I'm not. It's not always. It's not always going to be there for me. But I do think it's pretty good. But it's not a must-have for me.
It's a must-have for me.
All right, next one here, apple pie. Take it or leave it.
We'll leave that. Now, we got a lot of pies
There's
working at
plenty
the
of
Palmer
other pies
house.
that we need.
My uncle calls it pie pacing. He's going to have multiple pieces over the course of 2 hours. There's a pie pacing strategy that he's got. What I'm really upset about is that I can't watch the Egg Bowl with a chocolate pie and a scotch, which is what I love to do in the evening of Thanksgiving. I will have chocolate pie, potential coconut pie, potential pumpkin pie, but chocolate is the goat. I don't need apple ever. Don't need apple pie. Don't care.
Mine. I'm gonna need. So Mississippi mud pie is one that my family does, and then pecan pie is high on the priority list for me. And chocolate pie too, man. Chocolate pie is really good stuff. It's kind of similar to Mississippi mud, so you could probably go either way there. But
it needs to be really cold, though.
Yeah, it's got to be cold.
Because sometimes they'll leave the pies out, so people kind of grate. Well, I can't. That's no good. It needs to come out of the fridge.
It does.
And here's a fact that's going to happen. I have a tea time at 8:10 on Friday morning.
Oh wow!
I will have a piece of chocolate pie before I go out there. That's going to be like a 6:45 a.m. chocolate pie, and I don't care.
And then,
it's one day a year.
And then some cold pasta as well at 8 a.m.
That's
which
correct.
Is just unbelievable to me.
Absolutely.
Really good stuff from you on that. All right, last one here, evening turkey sandwich, which you actually talked about a little bit earlier, but take it or leave it.
I was on the Instagram story.
I'll take it.
I'm taking that all day. That's just... You get that turkey sandwich, put a little mayo, a little cheese with the fried turkey.
Gotta have the mayo, of course.
I mean, without mayo, there is no sandwich. So if there's a sandwich, I gotta have mayo.
Yeah.
That is good stuff right there.
It is.
I may be as excited for that as the actual meal. quite frankly.
Well, yeah, it's interesting how how that works. Like it's just a sandwich with turkey on it, but
It's fried turkey.
It is fried turkey.
It's way better than
really
out of
good.
the deli down the street, like I
Absolutely.
eat every single day for lunch.
Yeah, no
this
question.
is a special treat.
It is.
All right, that's it. We're going to get on out of here. If you missed any of the show today, catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound, you can find us. We did my SEC Power Rankings. We did SEC Picks Against the Spread. JD Pickell talking college football. We had a couple segments on Saints and Rams. You can find that at Hunt on Saints on YouTube. And my final pick for Saints, Rams, and LSU, Oklahoma. Got the Rams. I do have LSU. We'll see. We're off the next couple of days. Y'all have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Back on the airwaves on Saturday, and then back here same time, same place on Monday. Have a great weekend. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, AVSSLA.com is the website. We'll be in Shreveport this weekend, but I can still remotely arm and disarm the burglar alarm so that my neighbor can go over and feed my cat, which is going to happen here over the next couple of days. We can do that because we've got the app and the security system that was all set up by the folks at Audio Video Security Solutions. We can see the front door and the back door with the camera 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We can pause, zoom in, record, no cloud storage fees of any kind. And customer service has been fantastic since the installation, right when we moved into the house. That's Mitchell Fisher and his team at Audio Video Security Solutions. You can find them on Instagram to see some of the pictures and videos. They're great work at AVSS_BR. And as we always tell you, you can find them online at AVSSLA.com. It's Mitchell Fisher and his local Baton Rouge team, Audio Video Security Solutions. Check them out online. It's AVSSLA.com, AVSSLA.com.